So apparently, I'm the one pushing this forward, the director. That's a very bad idea. You should be doing this. You know what you're doing. You've got far more followers than I do. Keri. Oh really? Oh really? Okay. Keri and I, we recommend clients between the two of us. We work in mutually compatible fields. I'm obviously a currency broker. Hi followers. And Keri is a search agent.
Hi.
And we thought it might be very interesting to do a quick Q&A, but there's a caveat. I've seen far too many of these where it is one-dimensional, unenergetic, where the questions don't really relate to the sort of thing that you followers would be asking. So I'm going to come at this from the perspective that I know nothing about your line of work, or I know enough about your line of work to be asking some questions to your customers.
And then we'll switch.
Yeah, absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. So Keri,
Yeah.
so back when my wife and I were looking to move, we just happened to be driving past the house that we ended up buying. Now, I'm hopefully assuming that if we were to engage the art of buying, we wouldn't have had to, it wouldn't have been a surprise. You wouldn't have stumbled across that property because you would have presented it to us.
So I presume you would start a search online, so like Rightmove, prime location, find a property, onthemarket.com.
I think you're giving people like me a bit too much credit.
Okay.
Basically, because it's on my phone and that app, it's probably just Rightmove. I'm not going to be hopping between apps necessarily, or hopping between these sites to search for properties. I tend to just look at
So you
one.
think everything's on Rightmove?
Yeah, I know it's not.
It's probably one of the biggest. Okay. Yeah. So that's obviously what clients would do before they engage with me, or if they think they want to do it on their own. But what people don't know is not everything is online. Because you have to think a little bit outside the box. Yes, most people start their searches online, but usually the property they inquire about initially is not the property they end up buying, because the pictures might look great, but then once you kind of scratch the surface, you find out a lot more information about that property that might not suit you in your lifestyle.
Totally.
Or the lease might be low, and there might be a defective lease. There might be something in the lease that prohibits you from renting that property out. There's many factors, because we have weird and wonderful leases in London. Not to sound negative, but these are the things that aren't displayed online. So my service is really for people that have the time to search for the perfect property for them. They don't necessarily know what they want, or they think they know what they want, but that doesn't exist. And it's about getting the education. So it's about finding them something, saving them time with the search, and saving them money, because I negotiate the price as well.
And so from my point of view, I know that Keri, you work with a lot of international clients.
Yeah.
They're not here physically. I know it's an obvious thing to say, but how do you work with those who aren't physically here necessarily? Do you go on to insist that they visit the UK before they buy? How do you do that?
It all depends on the individual, and it all depends on kind of what they're looking to do with the property. I get a lot of people that are purely looking for an investment, so they want to know about the rental yields, they want to know about the growth in that localized area, and they want something that they're going to keep hold of for many years. So then I also have people that are looking for a pied-à-terre, so something as a London base. People buying for their children that are not based in the UK,
and they
that are going to be studying here.
Imbue you with a lot of authority to look on their behalf. You get a detailed brief from them. You know that you can sift through.
Yeah, sometimes it's not as detailed as what I'd like. And usually it starts off as one thing and it ends as something completely different. Because again, if you're not from London, or you're not from the UK, and you don't know what properties are in the areas, or kind of how far something is from something else. To give you an example, I had a client the other day that sent that I'm looking on behalf of at the moment, and they sent me something that they'd found on Instagram, and they said, Keri, can you go and check this out for us, because we've seen this, it looks really nice, and it says it's 15 minutes from Hyde Park. As soon as I looked at it, because I obviously know the majority of these buildings, as soon as I looked at it, it's not 15 minutes from Hyde Park. It's in an area that's probably going to take about 15 to 20 years to develop. And in my opinion, it's not the right property for that particular client. And I knew that pretty much straight away. And obviously they trust my judgment, and I obviously explained why. If they still want to explore it, then we'll go from there. But a lot of people get sent things, or they see things and they say it's 15 minutes from Hyde Park, or it's, in these and they don't know.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just about really educating people. I'm not here to kind of dominate and tell them what they should or shouldn't be buying. It's about understanding what they want, understanding the lifestyle that they lead, and finding them something perfect that's going to match with that, and finding it at the right price. So that's really, to summarize what I do. If you go to an estate agent, I obviously work with a lot of estate agents. But if you go through them, they really are incentivized to sell you what they have, which is the model, which is absolutely fine. Someone might say, I only want to be in Earl's Court, which helps you as a buyer. You might want to register with every single agent that covers that area. But there's also going to be agents that aren't operating in that area that might have access to a property in that area that you're not aware of because you didn't walk into their agency.
Sure, absolutely. I can quite appreciate
it's about
that.
covering the entire market, having, it's a full-time job, having relationships with all of these people. Okay, so as you already know, I'm with Jamie Lesinski of Prime Cap. What is it?
That's it. Prime Cap.
Prime Cap. I thought it was some sort of. And we met through Instagram, and I don't know how. We just did. We somehow got connected through Instagram, and it really opened my eyes a lot. And I thought there'd be a great kind of connection between the two, because obviously I have a lot of overseas clients and they transfer money here to buy in the UK. Most of them just use the bank. So I'm probably a little bit naive to the whole process, and I didn't know you existed, which is a lot of people don't know that I exist in terms of the business I do. But can you tell us a little bit about this is for my clients, but also for me, what is the difference between transferring money, if I'm buying a property in the UK and I want to transfer, I'm in Dubai, for example, and I want to transfer money from Dubai to the UK to purchase a property. What is the difference? I'd normally just transfer it from my bank. I'd go to HSBC or whoever it is, they can do this transfer and they charge X amount to do it. What is the difference? What is the incentive for somebody to use
A series of very good questions there.
I talk a lot.
No, I mean, and dare I say it, your questions are exactly as I would expect, because specialist currency services, specialist financial services, actually, if you think about it, are not very mainstream in the UK.
Yeah.
Very few people aged between 17 and 35 have a financial advisor or have like a currency broker if they're sending money internationally. And I'm not saying that's a sad thing, that's perfectly understandable, because the competition is enormous. Banks dominate anything remotely financial, so naturally you are, you think of a luxury car, you think of Mercedes, BMW, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, they dominate. There may well be small manufacturers of luxury cars, Caterham for instance, they're absolutely wonderful, but they're not on the front pages. They're not, you're not bombarded by the advertisements on the tube.
Yeah.
Putting that to one side, I would argue that a bank is like a supermarket for financial products. And when I say products, I mean an ISA, a way to save, a way to borrow, a way to invest, a way to exchange your money. They've got it all under one roof, and they invest heavily in the infrastructure and the convenience of being able to dip in and access those products. That essentially means they come at a little bit of a premium. They cost a wee bit more. So you won't get as good a rate of return in terms of savings or interest, for instance.
But you have the stability.
Absolutely.
In the bank.
You can kind of rest assured, that the products, your mum and dad might bank in NatWest or HSBC or whomever, and you sort of think to yourself, well, that's reassuringly familiar to me. Absolutely. Absolutely. But in the same way that Fortnum & Mason are a purveyor of luxury, delicious goodness, there are other service providers out there, non-banks, who have a specialism in little niches. And one of the niches that I have a specialism in is advising people who are buying and selling property and exchanging currencies, advising them on what they will encounter, what details they need, how exchanging their money fits into the buying process, so the exchange of a contract, the completion of a contract. If they don't have a bank account in the United Kingdom, and I know a number of your clients won't have a bank account before they start their search. So they can call on the services of a currency broker to hold currency for them and send it to a conveyancing solicitor or pay your retainer.
They don't need to have a bank account in the UK.
If they want all the current account features, you know, a debit card, all of the stuff that we understand in day-to-day banking, yes, of course they'll have to open a bank account. But if they have $1 million or Arab dirham that they want to exchange into sterling and they don't have anywhere to put it that is their own account, they can use our segregated account to hold it until they have somewhere to place it for themselves, yes.
Okay. And you can lock in certain exchange rates.
Exactly, yeah. So we...
By holding that as well.
I mean, consider it, it's a bit like Euro de change when we go to the airport. You know, I'll go up to Amex or Moneycorp, I'll give them my 100 quid and they'll give me, well at the moment they'll give me, you know, 111 euros.
Yeah.
But if I were to say to them, please hold on to those euros for a month for me, I've given you my sterling, keep those 111 euros where they are at the airport for me for a month. That's very similar to the sort of work that I can do for a buyer. I can buy currency for them and deploy it as and when they can fix the rate.
So if it drops, you still have bought it at that.
Exactly, you're protected.
Okay.
And one of the main things that buyers of property in London fail to realise is that every move up and down in the rate of exchange means that their foreign currency goes up and down in terms of what they have to pay to buy a sterling figure.
Yeah.
I know I've strayed jargon there, you know, buying all that.
Jargon.
Oh, sorry, but you know.
After this, we'll do a translation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to put out some subtitles. Si vous voulez, it's good, you know. But that's the thing. It's sort of a bit like search agency. It's seen as a sort of not elite, but it's folks who can afford to do it will engage your services. And I know that that's not the case. Anyone who is, you know, buying in London, well, I mean, obviously there's probably a figure that you wouldn't get out of bed for, maybe, but it should be more mainstream than it is at the moment, and that's certainly true of currency and foreign exchange.
Yeah, I feel like it should be more accessible to everybody. It's not just for a certain type of person. I think everyone needs to be protected and, you know, make sure they have the best service and get the best outcome. And it shouldn't just be for a certain type of person.
I quite agree. And value's a key thing. So I'm able to say, like, guaranteed that a retail bank will be 2% less competitive than me, at a minimum. Certain banks will be less competitive than others. I don't know if it's as easy to say that in property because it depends on the skill of the art of buying. Really.
Yeah.
But presumably, it's not just about time saving and it's not just about hand holding. There's actual measurable value that you can.
It's kind of handling the entire process from start to finish. So from the moment, you know, you have that thought, I want to buy something, it's about getting everything prepared and me walking them through the entire process to make sure, you know, they have got the best solicitor, they have got the best kind of financial advisor if they are, you know, going to be obtaining a mortgage. Some, you know, offering these additional services to make sure they have the entire package, because that entire package is also going to be a part of the negotiations.
Yeah, that, I did not think about it that way. If you are better prepared as a buyer, then you are more eligible
Yeah,
as
it's
a
like
buyer.
someone that doesn't have anything in place and there's a property on for £1 million and they offer, I don't know, £750,000, but they just say, well, I'll just make an offer at that level, you know, take it or leave it.
They're shooting themselves in the foot.
Versus somebody that has their currency already here, their finance in place, their solicitor in place, and the entire package of, I'm going to make you an offer of £750,000, but I'm able to exchange within this period of time because I have X, Y, and Z. They are going to be more likely to be taken seriously.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is worth its weight in gold. I'm a complete layman when it comes to property. I've bought once or twice in my life. What I've just heard there is expertise, and
Gold.
It's absolute solid gold.
I just want Jamie to give a quick example of what he can do that might benefit somebody. So, can you give us an example?
Sure. So let's say we've got a UK vendor selling a house. £1 million is an easy figure to use. They've sold the house for £1 million. They want to move
£1 million.
£1 million.
Quid.
Oh, what's that? A million. A GBP sterling. They've sold it for £1 million squiddles, and they want to repatriate that money back to the United States of America. For argument's sake, US dollar is a pretty mainstream currency. When they look on Google, they will see a rate of exchange of 1.29. So they would be forgiven for thinking that their £1 million will equate to 1.29 million US, so 1,290,000 US dollars. They'll be forgiven for thinking that. It'd be a natural assumption to make. The problem is when they go to their bank, when they go to NatWest or Santander, HSBC, Lloyds, Barclays, any of the big six, they will get a rate probably 3.5%, maybe 4% worse. 3.5% probably equates to, on that margin, let's say 1.2 as a rate of exchange. They're not going to receive their $1,290,000 US dollars. They will receive $1,200,000 US dollars. That is a retail rate. The margin, yeah. So I keep on going on about retail rates of exchange, and I feel as though I'm launching a political manifesto here.
No, it's just educating people, because I don't know, and I think a lot of people don't know, so it's worth, it's just educating people. You know, this isn't a pitch to get people's, you know, business. This is really just educating people. It's there, and if people, you know, want more information, then they can get in touch. If they don't, they can just continue to do what they're doing. It's fine.
Well, a retail rate of exchange is normally about 3.5%. And so banks charge you a premium. Like I said, lots of products under one roof. You pay a wee bit more for it, but you get the comfort and stability of a brand that you recognise. A commercial rate, which is the sort of rate that I offer from a non-bank entity, we generally mark up by, I'd say, about 0.1%. So you thought you were going to get 1,290,000 US. Your bank's going to give you 1,200,000 US. We will give you 1,287,000 US dollar.
Wow. So that means you could save someone about £87,000.
Not an exaggeration. We'd give them that much more. Now, of course, flip that on the reverse. You've got a foreign currency. Let's say you've got 1.17. Let's say you've got 1.2 million euros, and you want to bring it into sterling. At the moment, that will equate to about £1 million. But because your bank's going to take a slice of it, it's not going to buy £1 million if you go through a banking framework. Google, Bloomberg, BBC News, whatever it is, use that only as an indication. It gives you an idea of where the rate of exchange is, because it's not live, it's not moving with rates, you know, with the markets. And a lot of people get caught out. So imagine...
Because they don't understand.
Well, imagine that someone comes to you and says, I've got a budget of 1.2 million euros. Kerry, can you buy me a studio flat in Walthamstow? Because probably that's all you can buy in London, isn't it? Studio flat, 1.2 million Walthamstow. Times are tight. But the point is, they think they've got 1.2 million euros and they're looking for properties worth £1 million. Actually, they can only afford properties worth 900,000 or whatever it might be based on the rate of exchange. They need to be talking to a specialist. Their bank doesn't offer this service. There is no dedicated resource that you can talk to at your banking institution that will tell you whether the pound is strong or weak, what information you need to send an international payment, how long it's going to take you to get funds from Australia to the UK. So that's, I do for my clients what you do for yours.
And does someone need to register with you, or do you have a website where they can check the exchange rates, or just have a chat with you?
We've integrated one of these feeds, one of these generic feeds into our homepage, primecappayments.com. You can, I have it as, you know, on my mobile phone, I revert to it because it means I don't have to search on Google for this kind of rate. Yeah, like you guys, like the estate agency world, you would have to do anti-money laundering and know your client sort of steps.
Yeah.
But we take you through that. You've got a dedicated broker. Myself and my team are there to be at the end of the telephone, literally at your beck and call. And if you want to check us out on LinkedIn, you'll see 73 testimonials from people saying, I couldn't get rid of this guy. He was always there telling me about how to do it properly. You know, that's the thing. I close my eyes and imagine I'm talking to my grandmother whenever I deal with a client, because you cannot take for granted that someone knows what you're talking about if it is as off-market or as niche as something like currency or something like prime central London property. I don't know. Now what?
If you have any questions, if you want to get in touch, or if you liked what we were talking about and you want a bit more information, then you can get in touch with either of us. I'm on Instagram at Art of Buying, so just feel free to drop me a message, and I've got my number on there for WhatsApp if you have any questions.
And I'm on the incredibly imaginative Jamie.Legend. Well, you know what we're on. This is going to be on all the platforms.
Yeah, it's going to be
Emily Maitness is going to do a Newsnight segment on this, I tell you. Bottom line is, our two lines of work, our two fields of interest, there's a lot of stuff that is sort of confused about it. A lot of people assumptions.
And we
that
just
are
want to
incorrect.
educate people. Again, this is not a sales pitch. This is really because and the reason I started doing this, I personally don't think there's enough true information out there. So I just want to make sure that people don't have to go through lots of different platforms and, you know, have somebody that doesn't really act in their best interests educating them. So it's really just to give people free information.
And it also makes it look as though we're sitting in an airport lounge, when actually we're not.
We're in the where Spice Girls shot their movie.
Look at the IOD, isn't it beautiful? Here are some panning shots.
Yeah, we should show people afterwards if they're interested. They might not be, then you can just skip.
Yeah,
Tap,
and we'll
tap,
put up the old ask us any questions, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And if you want more stuff like this, let us know. If you want to do a live Q&A with us together or us separate, whatever, just
absolutely
feedback.
Ask us them their questions. Bye.
What we were talking about, and you want a bit more information, then you can get in touch with either of us. I'm on Instagram at Art of Buying, so just feel free to drop me a message, and I've got my number on there for WhatsApp if you have any questions.
And I'm on the incredibly imaginative Jamie.Legend. Well, you know what we're on. This is going to be on all the platforms.
Yeah, it's going to be
Emily Maitlis is going to do a Newsnight segment on this, I tell you.